All right, let's do chapter 12, which is the Mirror of Erised, which is one of the best chapters I think in the entire series. I love this chapter so much. Definitely where I think her writing is elevated significantly. But I just want to open it up. What are some things that you saw in this chapter that you really liked? We will talk all about the Mirror of Erised and the things that the people see in the Mirror of Erised soon, but what did you see or notice in this chapter? Anybody wants to
Well,
kick
at the
us off?
moment, I don't understand my notes. So if someone say something, then maybe that will jog my memory.
So I'll start off then. So first off, the very first beginning of the chapter, I love the fact that they're talking about Fred and George and they're getting in trouble because they're throwing snowballs at the back of Quirrell's head.
So good.
Which means they're throwing snowballs at Voldemort's face.
Yep.
So I gotta love the fact that they're throwing snowballs at our enemy here, and they don't even know it yet. So it's kind of funny.
It's so good. Yeah, that's one of like the low-key funny moments that when you revisit the chapter, you're like, they were literally pelting Voldemort with snowballs, which is exactly something Fred and George would do. I feel like at the battle, like maybe this is new headcanon, the Battle of Hogwarts, they're just going around tossing snowballs at Voldemort just as a reminder. They're like, we knew before anything happened, we knew.
Maybe they've got like that inner sense. You know how animals know when people are bad or good? They just know
Yeah.
it. So maybe Fred and George have like a sneaker scope built into their brains, and they're like, the back of this guy's head, something sus about that. We better help them.
I love that. They knew.
I know.
Why?
It smelled too much like garlic.
I mean, twins are magical apparently, and then make them magic twins. They've got to have some sort of sixth sense.
I always hate the trope too when like twins finish each other's sentences, because in the movies they're finishing each other's sentences all the time. I'm like, I don't know of any twins in real life that actually do that, but I like that they just know each other and like get each other in a deeper way. And that George was never quite the same when Fred had died. I thought that was sad.
I must say, like, I really loved Fred and George's relationship with Percy in this chapter. Like, they're not really making fun of him, and they're saying like, it's time for family. You need to sit with us, and stuff like that. So I really like their relationship here.
100%. Like, obviously Molly has raised them to know the importance of family, and while they still do take the piss out of Percy, they're like, come and join us, it's the time for family. Even though they don't necessarily get on with Percy, they're like, they're the ones encouraging him to join them, which I think is really nice.
Yeah, I love Fred and George in this chapter when they do that, because Percy's all about like, he just wants to study or like go hang out with Penelope or do whatever he wants to do, his prefect duties. And I love Fred and George are just like, no, like this is time for family. Get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
Such good
Oh,
yeah.
Except for each other, who is their favorite sibling of the other Weasleys?
Ooh.
Who is their favorite sibling or my favorite sibling?
Yeah. No, not yours.
You're like, I don't care about yours.
I'm sure they'll say Jenny. The young.
We all know both everyone's favorite, but like, who's their favorite? Yeah, I can see like Jenny is their favorite. Like they have like a different relationship with her. But I always think like, how did it affect them when like Percy like left, when he didn't have a good relationship with the family anymore? Like, obviously what Harry saw, it was they were like, oh, it doesn't matter, he was irritating brother and all that stuff. But like, how did it really, like when they were alone and they were talking about Percy, did it like really affect them that bad? Because I think they loved making fun of him and that stuff, obviously, but yeah.
They're looking around, where the snowballs at? We need to hit him.
Yeah, seriously, yeah. I think I really love them because I feel like there's a time where it transitions. Like this chapter, you see that they're jokesters, but it definitely transitions to when they can get serious and when like, maybe not get serious, where like they know it's time for family or something like that. So I like to think that them more than the others, it like Percy's leaving the family hurt them more than it hurt anybody else, maybe except for Mr. and Mrs. Weasley. Not that they were so connected to him, but I think Fred and George just truly value family. And And I'm not saying that the others don't, but I think I like to think that their relationship with Ginny is probably the strongest. I think they love Ginny with like something different, youngest sibling and like the only girl of the family.
And she's also like a lot like them.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. She really is.
I feel like she's the only one of the younger siblings too who, okay, people who are big fans of Ron are not gonna like this, but sorry, I don't mean to insult Ron, but like Jenny can hold her own like at a younger age than Ron can. Like I think she's a little bit more talented.
Come on, Ron's wizard chess is next level. That's about all he's got going for him, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally agree with you there.
Like, I feel like sometimes people are closer to people that are total opposite from them because it sort of challenges the relationship a bit more, like opposites attract kind of thing. And I feel like Percy is the most opposite from the twins. So I can almost see that they are like a sort of closer to him. They'll never tell Percy that he's like, you know, he's their other favorite sibling. So yeah, I can see that it hurt them more than it did the other siblings.
You never tell your siblings they're your favorite.
Okay, here's my only sibling, but I tell my sister all the time.
I never tell him.
You have to.
I really like what the siblings do too, and just like knocking people down a peg. It's like definitely what you do as a sibling. But for the twins, like I like that they're poking fun at Ron, like they're poking fun at Percy with like humongous big head in the next few, and that's a third book, right? Like they keep making fun of him and they keep knocking him down a peg. So like they're such good, I don't know what the term is, like baseline tests, or like they're such good like helps for the rest of the family to like get a grasp on like what reality actually is, which is so strange because they're like the jokesters and they like open up a joke store, and their parents are so nervous that them two are the ones that like don't have a grasp on reality, when really I feel like they're the ones that do the most. Because we don't really see Bill and Charlie. Percy's got his head up in the clouds. Ron, I mean, like he's just kind of like a dope at this point. He's loyal, but he's kind of a dope.
Too much insecurity.
Yeah.
And really like it affects him in a far more negative thing. So then he ends up being in a state where he should be more insecure, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
I think because he was so overshadowed and insecure, and the way that presents itself is just doesn't do him any favors.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas I feel like Ginny, instead of going for the insecurity, Ginny sort of went for the learning how to prove herself, so that she isn't overshadowed and actually put in the work.
Yeah.
Whereas Ron didn't so much, and hate to say it, but his best quality is that he's friends with Harry.
Whoa, shots fired.
I thought I was gonna get in trouble.
I said it after you, so now I could just blame you. But yeah, I agree. I think that Fred and George are the most sort of level-headed with reality, as you were saying. Like they sort of actually know what's going on in the world and can see things from multiple points of view rather than just sort of one or two points of view.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of wisdom in like being able to laugh, having a perspective of like humor. And like sharing that perspective with his family or with their family who like need it.
Yeah. There's something about like someone who's a good like satirist or something like that, or whatever really the term is. Like I think of like Mark Twain and like his commentary on the world, and he was just able to do it in like a really funny way. And I feel like anybody who can do that, they can cut through like a lot of the I don't know, like the crazier, more serious moments, and like really get at what the heart of the issue is. And I think they do it so well, Fred and George. I'm curious what they would see in the mirror too, because this is the Mirror of Erised chapter, and we get them. I'm curious what both of them would see in the mirror.
Imagine it was something just like their entire family getting on really well and having a laugh together. Like all of the Weasleys sitting down, engaging in like jokes and conversation.
Yeah, I would probably say they'll see themselves.
Experimenting their jokes on their siblings.
No, just like alone, like they're happy with who they are. So their desires, they don't have such, like Harry is able to see himself alone at the end. I think it's similar for Fred and George.
Oh,
interesting.
I can see that.
Yeah. That's lovely now. I love Fred and George. And then when they open the Christmas presents as well and they see their jumper and they're like, ours need letters on it. Of course we know that we're Forge and Gred. Or
Forge.
It's so good. It's so good. I just love them.
Yeah, I always thought Ron's had his letter on it, but apparently not.
No, it's just maroon.
I think it does in the movies, but like, I feel like she should have put a letter on his as well. I'd start to think that she doesn't like me as much as the others.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, when you get to the last one, it's like, ugh, now I have to like change colors. I just do like one.
How much would you guys how much would you guys pay for a Weasley jumper? That's the question.
$1,000.
They're so cool. I would oh, they're like the coolest.
I mean, you
things.
got one.
I know, I got two of them actually.
Oh, nice.
I would pay a lot. I've got a little addiction to jumpers.
Yeah, I'm currently wearing
I love a good jumper.
Yes.
I can buy, I buy a lot, of them. Like that's usually like I don't need any clothes, and then I go to the shop and it's just like jerseys.
I prefer hand knitted ones. My mom knitted a few for me. That's...
Oh, hand knitted. Wow, that's incredible.
That's really nice. Yeah. I know, and I'd imagine Mrs. Weasley actually knits them all by hand when she just doesn't even need to.
Yeah.
Like she could
put
just
a little
do
extra love
spell.
into it, yeah.
I know, and I bet she just sits there by the fireplace and knits all of them. And it's just it's so lovely. I just love that entire family. They're just
I love the
so
sound of
perfect.
knitting. Like if someone knits, that sound is like sort of puts me in a trance. Because my sister used to knit when we used to drive for summer holiday, and it's like a 10-hour drive from where we live to Cape Town. And then so we used to drive, and then she would knit in the car, and that sound would like put me to sleep. It's like such a relaxing sound. I love it.
Yeah. It's just like the Weasley house just has all of that. It has good sounds, a lot of people that love each other, like good comedy. The Weasley household is just a place to be. I love that. Love the borough.
I know. I get more jealousy like thinking about the fact that I'll never go to the borough than I do about never going to Hogwarts. Like, quite honestly, I would just love to like walk in the door, meet the embrace of Mrs. Weasley, and just be so fascinated by everything. I just think it's the most perfect thing ever.
And
the gnomes in the garden.
Yeah.
Just everything.
I just wanted to say, get bitten by a gnome.
Yeah.
Ghoul like moaning in the attic.
Yeah. Yeah. That is such a strange addition.
Like. I'm so upset that they didn't put it in the movies.
I know. Even like an illustrated version would be great.
There might be one in one Fantastic Beasts book, maybe.
Oh yeah?
Gotta check that.
I know someone did it. So is a ghoul actually in there as a beast? I don't know.
I thought so.
It might be.
It's been a while since I've opened that up though.
Yeah. There's so many animals. There's so many beasts too, so it's hard to like remember them all. Okay, so this is the first moment that he gets the cloak as well. But when you guys read it for the first time, who did you think that the cloak was from? And who do you think the cloak was from in the first read? Do you remember?
That was too long ago. I can't remember.
I watched the movies before I read the book, so I don't really know.
So there's a lot of interesting stuff about this, the cloak too. So it was in Dumbledore's possession. We kind of know why it was in possession, why it was in his possession, but why did Dumbledore go for the cloak?
Like he had one.
Yeah, so he had one already.
Yeah, he wanted the second one to just check if all the myths of all three of them existing is real. I don't know, probably.
He was hunting the Hallows, and this is one of the ones that kind of met the criteria. And he was like, "Let me look into this," and so just happened to get it a couple days before it all went south for Harry's family.
Obviously, he's not responsible for Harry's parents' death, but is he kind of? Because if they had an invisibility cloak, would they have been able to escape Voldemort?
Possibly.
Imagine him throwing it over Harry and then no one finds him ever and then he suffocates under there.
Wow, that got really dark.
So it's a good thing.
Wow. Of all the things I was expecting to come out of your mouth, that was not on the list. I guess so, yeah. So maybe he actually saved Harry's life.
Yeah,
did he did he give the cloak to Harry knowing that it was a Hallow? Like
Probably.
with 100%?
I think so.
I think he would have come with an extra note saying like, you know, be careful. He said use it well, but doesn't say like, please be careful. I mean, what's that going to say to anyone?
Yeah, for sure. And it's like if you put some weird note like that in there, I feel like Harry's gonna break it. It's like, you know, the closer you are to danger, the farther you are from harm. So don't even mention it, and you're good.
Yeah, true.
I mean, Danny keeps mentioning how Harry leaves it everywhere.
I know, yeah. Like the most valuable. It's just pretty much the most valuable object in the books, and Harry just leaves it anywhere. That I remember anytime I still read it, that always bothers me whenever he leaves it in places. Like whenever he left it down the One-Eyed Witch passageway, or whenever he left it on the top of the astronomy tower, I was like counting down the pages until he would go get that again, because that object is so valuable. And I was like, how can he just be so, you know, like willy-nilly with this object? It's like the coolest thing ever.
I must be like when I was young, I was a lot like Harry. Like I would leave everything everywhere. Like, my mother used to say, like, if my bum wasn't attached to me, I would have left that somewhere as well. So no, I was just like Harry. So I get it.
The Carlin brothers, they did a 5-part series about what if James did keep the cloak, which really goes into depth about what would happen if the cloak was not in Dumbledore's possession. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I don't remember exactly what all of it says, so I'm not going to quote it wrongly, but it's, again, 5 videos worth of just them guessing what would happen if you get it. So
yeah,
so it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot in there about that.
Is there anything on it about suffocating Harry by any chance? Is that an original thought by
Yeah, I think we need to definitely put in for a 6th part now, so thanks.
I think you need to write them.
Cecilia's going to start her own Harry Potter channel with all the darkest theories.
Dark theories.
I think if it went that way, the book would be over in 4 chapters. You know? Yeah. Kid died.
That's why I'm not a writer.
Yeah.
So Dumbledore had the wand, he had the cloak, and the ring was still hidden, right, in the shack.
Yeah.
Yep.
When do you think Dumbledore started piecing it together and like really started looking for Horcruxes? Is it really in book 6? Did he do it at all before that?
Actually, because in the Deathly Hallows, when they go to Aberforth right before the Battle of Hogwarts, basically, he's talking about. He's like, if my brother wasn't hunting, not Horcruxes, but
Hallows, yeah.
And he's like, he meets his friend, and they started hunting for Hallows.
Yeah.
And if he didn't do that, maybe he would have stayed. So he said that happened like way before.
But they were hunting Hallows, definitely. That's like what their mission was. But when did Dumbledore really officially start hunting the Horcruxes?
Oh, you said Horcrux.
Surely book 2.
I probably missed it.
I think
Really?
after yeah. With the diary and how like Voldemort is still alive, so he probably knew of Horcruxes' existence, like magic that can keep people alive. But
so was he then harvesting the memories from book 2 to book 6? Like is that when he was really getting the majority of the memories? Or did he procure those before that?
I think that's when he started getting the memories, because it like from the book 6, it sounds like the memories were very like some of them were really hard to get.
Yeah.
So I think it took him a while.
In book 2,
in between spying at Harry. So
yeah, and in book 2 he learns about not only Horcruxes but also about how like blasé he was with his Horcrux. So that's where he's like, there's got to be more of these.
Yeah.
And there's also that smirk in the book 4.
Yep.
Which probably at that point he knew that Harry is also.
Dang, yeah. That's a good point.
I'd say he definitely sped up his, I'd say book 2 he was hunting Horcruxes and memories. And book 4, when Voldemort comes back to life, essentially, I'd say Dumbledore at that point was like, we got to speed up this process. Like, shit's going down a lot quicker than I anticipated. Like, we got to hit the ground running now. It was probably like after book 2, he was like, yeah, I'll like dabble here.
I'll get to it.
I'll do it, tomorrow, it starts Monday. I'd say after book 4, he was like, let's go.
Yeah.
I finally figured out my note. So Harry actually says when he looks at the restricted section in the library that the books there aren't taught at Hogwarts. So it's obviously for the older students, but why are the books there? Like, are they actually researching, the older students researching everything? Because it doesn't really mention them when they're all in the later books that they go into restricted section that often to research subjects. So why are all those books there if they're not taught at all?
Teachers, I guess, and just
we also
books.
Yeah, we also see it from Harry's perspective, and Harry is not a reader.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it's Hermione's probably read every book in the restricted section just to read it. It is pretty crazy to see that.
I think it would have been so cool if she mentioned, because when he goes under the invisibility cloak to that book, and he gets the book that screams, it would have been nice if like something on the book or inside. Okay, I know Dumbledore removed all the books, but if it like mentioned something about there was a book on, just like a throwaway line, Horcruxes, like just mention it, and then it comes back later. That would have been quite cool.
I feel like it's too interesting of a word. You'd hear that word and you're like, oh, wait, what are Horcruxes?
Oh, true.
You're too intrigued.
Any word with an X in it kind of
Yeah.
stays in your mind.
Yeah. That would have been like a fun, like a throwaway line or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah. True. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say it's just I couldn't imagine Dumbledore has ever gone like, oh well, this isn't any longer on the curriculum. Like, let's throw it away. I'd say it's for the professors to build up their knowledge as well, because teachers are always learning. And even if it's restricted to the point where students aren't allowed it, I think there's a line in one of the later books where is there? Or have I made this up? Where Dumbledore doesn't really believe that stuff should be censored to students. I might have completely made that bit up. That might have just been my own thought, and I'm like, yeah. Dumbledore
I feel like that's not right, because I feel like he does censor stuff.
He censors the book on Horcruxes.
Yeah.
And that's a banned.
Yeah, he keeps it in his office, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I've just totally made up this fact and passed it on. I think it's a thought that I had, and I've just been like, Dumbledore said this, so everybody listen.
Because he took all the books out when
But he doesn't get rid of them.
Yeah.
No, he's in his office.
But he's not gonna like give any student like special permission to read those. Like in my estimation, he's like just taking those away just so like no one has access to them. Should students?
I just think any book lover would like refuse to throw away any books.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I couldn't imagine Dumbledore being like, "Oh, let's toss this one because we're not teaching it."
Yeah. Especially books on the dark arts, because that's I mean, we know from Snape, it's like that's the way that it's like you gotta study it in order to know how to fight it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. What do you think of Dumbledore's censorship? Like, maybe this is an obvious question. Should Dumbledore have taken those books out of the library?
Should he have? Is that your question?
Yeah. Like, and when
the Horcrux books?
Yeah, specifically the Horcrux books.
Whatever that one was called.
Or like even the idea of censorship of the unforgivable curses. I'm sure like if you grew up, you probably knew a little bit about the unforgivable curses, but like, should they be learning those in school earlier? Because even in book 4, they're like, oh, you know, Dumbledore doesn't want me to teach this, or the Ministry doesn't want me to teach this. What kind of censorship is appropriate for that kind of work? Particularly with
fine, in my opinion.
What was that?
You don't have to go. I said theoretical knowledge should be fine.
Yeah.
Like if like for Horcruxes, you can say what Horcruxes are, but not discuss how.
Yeah, how they're made. Yeah. I mean, we don't even know how they're made, which is a bummer. Yeah. Like only Jo knows how they're made, and her editor or something like that.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really agree in censorship, but I don't think you should be teaching people how to do the unforgivable. That's a tongue twister. Unforgivable curses. I don't think they should be saying, okay, this is how you do Crucio. But I think learning about it is important for sort of everybody. But you're not going to teach them how to do it. Like when, for example, I used to sail when I was younger, and our sailing instructor taught us obviously all the knots, but he wouldn't teach us a noose, and he wouldn't teach us I forget what it's called, like a monkey fist or something like that, which like basically if you make this knot, you can whack someone over the head and essentially kill them if you do it hard enough. So it's like they were the two knots that he wouldn't teach us.
The unforgivable knots.
The unforgivable knots, exactly.
I don't know, was vicious.
Look, I mean, they're not important knots for sailing, which is probably another reason why he didn't teach us, but I just remember him telling us that when we were like, what are some knots like that you wouldn't teach us? And he was just telling us that. Ooh, now we all want to know. But yeah, so like I think it's important to tell students like everything that they need to know, but you don't need to be going into elaborate detail.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll let you know, Becky, if you like, you can come over here to America and the Navy here. We actually learn how to do a monkey's fist right away, apparently.
I'm just gonna Google unforgivable knots when I'm done.
Leo's like,
well, and that's
knot I learned.
I just think that could be there could be like an unintended consequence to that, which is either the students who have like a tendency towards violence, darkness, Draco Malfoy, for example, they may then be determined, or alternatively, just students who are extremely curious may then just be really determined to find out more. I'm not saying like I don't really think I have a strong opinion, because I think there's downsides no matter what you do, whether you don't talk about them at all, whether you just talk about them but don't go into detail, or whether you go all the way. When you're teaching a student, I'm not really sure, because I think there's unintended consequences to each one.
Yeah, I mean it's similar to how it's similar to how certain propaganda books are released with sort of commentary and critique on them, and not necessarily as their own original form. So I think that could be done, and you can get rid of all the old books. I don't know, somehow.
I think that's how it plays out in the Legacy game. Like if you have not played it, I'm not going to ruin it, but if you have, then you'll understand. That's how it is with learning the curses. You get the opportunity to learn them or not to learn them, but you still got to progress through the story of it. So the game's pretty solid on how that goes through. So that's kind of what it is. And it's available, and if you don't just give it to people, then they're gonna want it more. That's what happens with it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and that book does show up in the game. For those that don't know, it's an Easter egg. It is in the restricted section, 100 years before Dumbledore. So
interesting. That's kind of cool.
That's it. It's in there. It's one of the secret field guides that pops up and it talks about it. And it's like, oh, reference to Horcrux.
Yeah, and also like what I did like about the restricted section was then it was almost my favorite quote is like the faint whispering that came from the books, which was it's like they have personalities of their own. So that was like quite cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like what Bria was saying though, like it would about it encouraging sort of the more violent students. But I guess in school we learn about wars and we learn about how torturing and stuff. How enemies would torture prisoners and stuff like that. But they're not sitting us down and going, okay, so this is exactly how they would torture them, and if you ever want to do it, this is the equipment that you need. You need X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we'd still learn about torture methods and stuff like that, and maybe that did stick with some people and then, oh, I'd love to learn more. But I suppose you can't be under the assumption that you are teaching a bunch of like serial killers to beat. You sort of have to have a bit of faith. But you also don't want to be giving them the step-by-step instructions because teenagers are unpredictable. And, if you teach a 13-year-old an unforgivable curse and they have like a big emotional meltdown and crucio somebody, But
that's actually that's the interesting thing to be like the like the meltdown kind of phase makes sense. I feel like for something like a Horcrux, like Danny made this comparison once about like the atomic bomb. He's like, you don't see a bunch of books about the atomic bomb, and it's like good that you don't have instructions on how to do it. But like if I had the instructions on how to make an atomic bomb, I couldn't do it. I don't know the math, I don't know the science or the chemistry behind it. Like I'd have to really like devote myself to learn how to do that. So I feel like if this maybe is gonna sound weird, but like before they let any students in, they should run like, I'm thinking of like the movie Dune, where they like have like the little dart at the person's neck to let them into Hogwarts, because it's like it tests. Yeah. It like tests as soon as they do that with one character, they're like, this person's a sociopath. Like if you're a sociopath, we can't let you into Hogwarts. If Voldemort's a sociopath, should they have even let him into Hogwarts in the first place? Which it's a great theoretical question, but practically, I don't know.
I find it interesting.
I'm just looking also, like in the movies, okay, they all have the Slytherins, or like Malfoy, who's now the evil one. They have like classes with the Gryffindors, but like in the book, it's the Gryffindors do defense against the dark arts alone. So we know that Moody showed them the unforgivable curses, but did he give this exact same lesson plan to the Slytherins? But okay, there's also like bad movies. We don't.
No, he told them take an invisibility cloak and drape it over a person until they suffocate. That's their unforgivable curse.
I'd imagine Moody taught that class and he goes, these are the unforgivable curses, as all of you should know from your birth.
I already know them, so I don't need to teach you.
He's like, okay, this is just a review.
Yeah.
I think you do. I would think that you alter your curriculum in the way that you teach something depending on your students, and it is important to address things like big things like that. I mean, it's really hard when big stuff comes up in the world. Big heavy things come up. I'm thinking of like the day, like the January 6th, like the storm on the Capitol building. I was teaching that day, and you field questions because kids have them, and it's important to do so in an academic setting with an adult that they trust, that isn't always their parents or guardians. So I think with something like censorship at Hogwarts. I mean, I think like Dumbledore banned like the magic most evil book, right? So that kids can't access that, discover how to make Horcruxes and things like this. He didn't destroy it. I'm sure if you talked to Dumbledore, you know, like, I mean, Hermione's able to summon it out of his office. And I'm pretty sure that Dumbledore knew that that was going to happen, that she was going to do that.
Yeah.
So that they could have access to that information, so that they could defeat the Horcruxes.
I wonder, did he make it so that only she can summon it? Only if someone else did. Okay,
Hermione's voice.
Obviously, someone else didn't have a reason to, but
voice activated. Yeah,
maybe
like
if Snape suspected something, if he summoned it, would it not have gone to him?
I don't know. I kind of like that voice activated Accio.
Yeah.
That is really interesting too, even with like censorship. It's funny how different people have different takes on that. Like I remember I was in 5th grade when 9/11 happened, and my school was right outside of New York City. So like if you walked out the doors, you'd be able to like see the smoke piling up. And I was in 5th grade, and one teacher, I was in the teacher's room that she didn't tell us a thing. And everyone got dismissed from school really early. Like as soon as it happened, parents were like picking up their kids and stuff like that. And our class was in such ignorance. I remember one kid got taken from our class like by his parents, and our whole class was like, what is happening? This never happens. And the other teacher wheeled a TV in and let the kids watch the news on the TV. And I'm like, that's like an extreme take, but it's just funny how different people have different views of censorship. And Dumbledore, it's not like a typical one, but I don't know. The idea of censorship in Hogwarts is just a fascinating question to me, just because it's like very practical to censorship today. I think it's an interesting discussion.
That, Becky, I think you have a good sense about Dumbledore. Like, I think he would be very anti-censorship in general, like out in the rest of the world. But then his desire to protect students, and like he really just remembers that they're children, even the ones who have the darker side, like Malfoy, or, you know, have heavy burdens like Harry. Like he never forgets that they're children, and he's very protective of them. So that's where he has like a conflict with these materials and ideas, and even just like being open with Harry.
Yeah, I like that.
That's a good point.
Anytime we come to the restricted section, we'll probably rehash this whole discussion. It's an interesting one.
Did anybody else notice that in the book it doesn't have a giant cage around it and that's all locked and all? It's just a rope. You know, the movies made it very blockable and you can't even climb into it and all this stuff. And you read the book, and he just stepped over the rope that was separating the regular books from the not so regular books.
Well, even in the video game, it's like a cage too, right?
It's a big giant cage. Yeah. So it's interesting. So yeah.
In the video game, the section is huge. It like goes downstairs. It's like a chamber. It's huge. Crazy.
But it's pretty cool.
A lot of restricted books. What else do you guys notice in this chapter? Any other fun little tidbits?
I know you guys discussed it on the podcast about the crackers, the Christmas crackers. And it's very sad that you guys don't have it.
Explain what it is.
You pull it and there's toys in it.
No. Wait, Becky, you're muted.
It's wrapped up. It's
I don't know if you're muted.
Yeah, you're not muted, but we just can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Yeah.
She's saying it's a toy or something. It's like a roll or something. You'd pull on both.
But this is in the movies, right? Isn't this in the movies when don't the twins do it or something like that?
Yes. So yeah, and it makes like a noise, like when you pull it. Yes. So it makes like a noise, and then so it's like in South Africa as well. It's a tradition. It's on like the Christmas lunch on like the plates. So we get it, and like you get like a little paper hat in it, and then everyone has to put that on, but it always like tears because everyone's head is too big. And there's like a joke in it, like a toy and like a sweetie and stuff like that. And depending on where you buy it, it's the
What's important is the jokes are always intentionally bad. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear
I thought you had just been ignoring me for ages.
Becky's like, this is typical for John, but for the rest of you.
I've been like talking so much. So the jokes are intentionally bad. I can't hear. So the jokes are always intentionally bad because if they were good jokes, because like humor is subjective. So if you tell a joke, some people will get it, some people won't, some people will think it's funny, some people won't. But the jokes in Christmas Crackers are always intentionally bad. So you read it out to the table and then everybody goes, oh, it was terrible. And now this one terrible joke has brought an entire group of people together in one common thought. Christmas Crackers are so bad, but they're so good and they're a staple every Christmas.
So on ours, on the paper is a joke on the one side and like a fun fact on the other one, like on the other side. It's like a did you know?
Yep. We don't do any of that in America, so
we have dad jokes.
Yeah, we got dad jokes, exactly.
Well, that basically all the dad jokes are in the crackers.
Cool.
Love that though.
Well, if any of y'all want to send us some, we'll gladly accept them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like some pictures of it next time. Yeah, so but like it used to be like just like red or green. But like these days it's like really nice. They decorate it. And like we actually over Christmas we had like so my brother-in-law's mother made like some. So she put like her own. So we had like really good like chocolates and stuff in ours. We didn't and a hat, but we didn't have like the jokes obviously now. So but yeah, so we had like really good chocolates now. So
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. So when you asked us to send them over, I actually happen to know that you're not, for some reason, on US flights, you can't bring Christmas crackers either on hand luggage or check-in baggage.
Because we don't want that in America. We have our own traditions.
Anything to the US, I tried.
Yeah.
So you can't bring them on any like passenger airlines in the US.
Bummer.
So you guys will do anything to not get our culture sent over to you. You're like, we don't want S's in our words. We don't want to add U's after roses.
No U's.
We don't want Christmas crackers.
Don't give us your tea. We're gonna dump your tea into harbors.
But you are missing out.
I always so there's another like food reference in these books that was funny, but so there's a Christmas feast, and I'm guessing this is probably the feast before all the kids leave. But I don't know because it seems like everyone leaves, and then it talks about how there's 100 fat roast turkeys for the Christmas feast during Christmas, and I'm like, in the movies, there's like 20 kids that are staying. And they roast a
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Too much food.
We literally eat Christmas leftovers.
Yeah.
For the next week.
Yeah. The next week they're like, oh, we gotta eat turkey again.
They knew Ron was staying.
Yeah. Sometimes leftovers are better anyway, so
love leftovers.
I always love that.
We don't have turkey at all in South Africa. Like some of our shops will have it, but like it's very expensive. So no, we don't have turkey.
You got to book your turkeys ahead of time. Like people, not book, order.
The performing turkey
to make an appearance.
We do roast chicken. Like our traditional Christmas lunches are usually like cold. The food are usually like cold foods, like cold meats and chicken and stuff like that, and lots of salad. And there's always like Christmas trifle used to be like a traditional thing, but it's not anymore, thank goodness, because I don't like it. But yeah, so that's like a South African Christmas.
Yeah, there is a lot of brutish food that happens in the books that I don't really know anything about. And then Danny started like bringing some to the beginning of the podcast when we were like eating half these British little treats. And some of them were a little weird. Spotted dick is a little strange. I'm not going to lie.
I'm not a fan of spotted dick. I like my dick non-spotted. I don't like the dessert spotted dick. I'm so sorry. I'm bringing your podcast down.
No, this is perfect. This is great.
But yeah, I know. I'm not.
Baby killing and politics.
In the version of book that I have, they have replaced crumpets with English muffins.
Yeah.
They are two totally different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely outrageous. What? They're not even remotely the same.
No.
This is the kind of censorship I'm not okay with.
Yeah.
What did crumpets ever do wrong?
No, I know. These are good. No.
All right. Let's talk about the mirror. Unless Cecilia, want to talk about something?
And I just wanted to say, like, Snape never sleeps.
Yeah, which is a great point for this chapter.
Yeah, he shows up at the wrong spot every time. So
yeah.
I do got one.
No, and I think you mentioned last time that like she wanted to make him a vampire, a character, and like this is like proof.
Yeah.
Like she was thinking about it because like, how are you always awake?
It was definitely still rolling around in her head.
Basement.
Yeah.
If you subscribe to the theory that Dumbledore planned everything, then this is one of those things that's talked about is that Hagrid gives him a flute, right? He whittles him a flute.
Yeah.
And the theory is that flute is actually Dumbledore's idea to Hagrid, saying, "Hey, give Harry a gift, and make it a flute." And the theory is that flute was going to be used to help put Fluffy to sleep down the road, so that way Hagrid gave him then what he needed to get past Fluffy so he can start his trials. But of course, as we know in the books, it gets to a point where there's a magical harp that's still playing. So, but that was all Dumbledore's big plan to help him get through that and through his trials. So Dumbledore planned all this from way before anybody ever thought about it. So
I must say, because that's a very strange gift. Like, why?
There's also this theory that he thought he assumed that Neville would also go with them, and that's why there's the devil's snare. And that there's
Interesting.
That is true.
The flute thing, because it is a weird gift to give Harry.
Doesn't Harry bring that on the way?
Music. I'm like, why? Why do you think he will play an instrument?
Doesn't the books mention that he brings the flute with him to?
Yes.
And then he just doesn't play it.
But he doesn't need it.
Interesting.
He does play it, but it's like he said. I think he says like it's kind of like it isn't really a song, but it seems to work.
Yeah, because
that happens.
He uses it to get Fluffy to sleep. I think it's a movieism. There is a harp in
it's the movie
the trapdoor in this book, but it's a movieism that it's still playing. They play the flute to get Fluffy to sleep and go through the trapdoor.
Well, then I'll find out in a couple chapters when I get there.
I must say, like this movie more than the others, like has blended so much with the book for me.
Yeah.
That like I really struggle to like.
Because it was. It was pretty consistent, except for like a few small points, like a harp rather than a flute. You're like, what the heck? Why is that significant? Why can't they just keep the flute in there? You know?
Yeah. Okay.
It's a fascinating.
I don't know why they just didn't include that in the movie. Like, that he gets a flute.
Maybe Daniel.
I do love the
Daniel
one point.
has it in his contract not to blow on anything.
I love that in the movies though, Hagrid's playing the Hogwarts theme song or the Harry Potter theme song on his flute.
Yeah.
I think that's great. That's a good point. Okay. The mirror. Lots of interesting theories about the mirror. Lots of interesting points about the mirror. The most basic question to start. What does Dumbledore see in the mirror?
His family, I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think.
Family, or literally just himself holding Willy's socks. Like maybe he understands that, because he says it does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. So maybe Dumbledore has reached a point in his life where he's learned to just be satisfied with what he has.
Yeah.
Except for the socks, because that's important. Obviously.
But
that's what I think.
Because this happens in book 1 where he says like, and then he actually puts the ring on, in book 6. So obviously hasn't learned that lesson because he still wanted to bring his family back to say to apologize. So I don't know.
I actually think when he says like okay, so at the end when Harry asks him, what do you see when you look in the mirror, and Dumbledore's like, I see myself holding a pair of thick woolen socks, and then he goes on to say, another Christmas has come and gone and I didn't get a single pair. People will insist on giving me books. I actually think that says a lot, and I think that that's truthful. I think that like I don't know what exactly Dumbledore sees in the mirror, but I think you might see something about warmth and people recognizing the humanity in him as opposed to like the clever wizard in him.
Dang. I love that.
And in that way, I think him and Snape are very similar because I think Snape would probably see, some people might argue that Snape would see Lily in the mirror and maybe even like a Harry in the mirror, right? Like with Lily. And in that way, like the three of them have like very similar desires when they look in the mirror. Harry, Snape, and Dumbledore. Like I think Snape and Dumbledore would see some type of warmth or love being received by themselves. Because if we think about desire, it's like what you want but you don't have, right?
And he doesn't have wool socks. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and he does make up a story for why he doesn't have them. That's a great point.
Yeah,
which is wild because like I'm sure Hogwarts is quite cold and it's definitely got cold floors, like
stone floors. Oh
what's
my god.
he doing with?
Well, yeah, he has them. I'm sure he has them. There's meaningful from somebody to get them to him. So.
But it also, guys, I listened to the audiobook and also very fast. So it seemed like he wasn't thinking about his answer. It was just like, this is my answer. So if that was a lie, he came up with it very quickly.
Yeah.
But what I do like about the passage or the part of the book that you read now is where Harry goes back and he says that he thinks that wasn't the truth. Because I think Harry gets a lot of like people say like, why doesn't Harry ask Dumbledore like questions and stuff like that? I think he's sort of been trained from like a young age, from 11, that when he actually asked the personal question, he was lied to, or he thinks that he was lied to. So why would I ask another one? So if I'm not going to get the truth anyway.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Dumbledore, yeah, for sure. Like Dumbledore withholds information. I don't think he like. I don't read Dumbledore as like lying to people, just giving surface level information that doesn't fully answer questions.
Yeah, it's actually a fascinating question for what constitutes a lie. Like, is withholding information, is like hyperbole a lie? Is like saying something like that when you kind of like maybe are protecting a person from, or like even just secrecy. Like, it's a personal question to ask. Harry understands that, so he has that realization later on. But I don't know if if I'm like the headmaster of some school and some like little first year kid, even though like he's Harry Potter, asks me what I saw in the mirror, I'm not telling him what I see in the mirror. So even if it is like, even maybe if it's a thick woolen socks, maybe if he gets these things, there's definitely some kind of meaning behind that. I like the idea that he wants to be perceived as like having warmth and receiving love. So I like the idea that Ariana is the one that's knitting him these, or maybe like his mother Kendra is the one that like gives him these socks, and he just kind of wants to be back there with his family, over Christmas. Because those are like some of my favorite times, just like after Christmas when you're like giving each other these terrible gifts like socks, and everyone's just together and you're like laughing and having a good time. So I like to think that that's kind of what he was thinking of. But I really like the idea that's an interesting thing. I've never thought of the idea of him not having books or like not wanting books was a sign of like he's renowned for his wisdom and everyone thinks he wants this, but really deep down he just wants to be known as being like a warm, kind, friendly, loving person.
I think it was you that even brought up that like he didn't really have friends.
Yeah. Which yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like driving the other day and I was thinking about that. Like I'm like it's Harry Potter is consuming my every life, my every minute of life. Like I'm like, does because there are also theories of him, like him seeing Geller in the mirror. So I'm curious. Even with that, did he experience true friendship and true love and then that was scorned, so he just kind of closed himself off to that and he just like wants to have that again so desperately, but he knows the dangers that poses to him? Like, why does he shut himself off to friendship so much? That's something that I just don't fully grasp. Maybe he's just old and no one's like on his level and everyone kind of he's like feels like everyone uses him or something like that. I don't know.
I do also feel like the older that you get, the less people you need around you. But like, you know, and also, when does he have time really to hold down friendships and relationships other than because he's a busy guy. But like, who do you think he hangs out with in the staff room? Like,
It does say like Flitwick was telling him a joke, like one of the jokes in the crackers, which is I found very like sweet.
I like that.
And he was laughing at it.
We know too.
I think he would be very fun at talking.
He doesn't really. We know that he doesn't fully trust, right? Like, doesn't let everybody in the way that like Harry fully trusts Ron and Hermione, and he has those two. They are part of his higher purpose, right, if you will. And Dumbledore, he lets certain people. He doesn't even let. Like, I would call his like right-hand man would be Snape. He doesn't tell Snape everything. He doesn't tell Harry everything. He doesn't tell anyone everything. And so I think he's either afraid to trust or he was burned by Grindelwald so badly in that. And now it's like he only lives for the greater good and to like, because he is the only one privy to the full information of the prophecy, right? So like, I don't know.
That could also be strategic though, because you know, Snape is going to be and then does regularly interact with Voldemort. And even though he's, you know, a wonderful Legilimens, am I switching them?
I thought you were gonna say wonderful person.
Oh no.
And Nemo was gonna go livid.
Cracking lad.
Well, we won't get into that. I'm sure I would say things about Snape that would make people livid, but no, I just mean he does a great job, obviously, right, of guarding his mind against Voldemort and keeping things from him. But it's still like a vulnerability. Dumbledore is a huge target of Voldemort and has a lot of resources to defeat him. So, just as a strategic matter, like he might want to keep. You know, I don't know, there's like spy movies, right, where no one has the full picture except for the ringleader. And so in that same way, and then Harry, of course, at some point, Dumbledore realizes that he's vulnerable, possibly to Voldemort's, you know, his mind is vulnerable to Voldemort. And so there may also, just be some strategic reasons for him being kind of closed off and not telling everyone everything.
Well, I think he talks about that in Secrets of Dumbledore. You know, that's exactly what he does. Nobody has the entire plan or anything, or even know anything, because he's already identified that Grindelwald's able to see every prediction stuff. So he's like he can constantly changes it and stuff, and doesn't tell anybody about it. So
right, that's true.
And he says that's why he shuts Harry out in 5 because his mind isn't safe. And I'd imagine so. Like, I guess in a way, he is doing it because he doesn't trust, but not necessarily because he doesn't trust the people that he's close to, but because he doesn't trust everybody else around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a form of protection too.
Yeah, a lonely life actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really did.
Oh.
We never get it, but what do you guys think Hermione would see in the mirror?
Books.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm just kidding.
Or surrounded by books.
A library for all.
Being in the restricted
every
section.
restricted section
Yeah.
of the library in the world.
That'd be cute.
And then, how much do you think their visions would change after all the books? So, like after book 7, what do you think Harry, Ron, and Hermione see in the mirror? Is it the same? Or maybe even like when they're married and like they're all settled and they're in their adult life, what do they really see?
I think Harry just sees a quiet life, like with nothing happening.
Yeah.
He's chilling.
It's nice.
I think all of them actually.
Being anything except his family.
Yeah. I do love that one line in the movies where Ron goes, "Are we ever gonna get a quiet year at Hogwarts or something like that?" I'm like, I kind of like that.
I was like, no.
Yeah.
I think Neville would see his parents telling him that they're proud of him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
Not to
man.
make everyone cry or anything.
Yeah. What the heck, Becky? Come on.
Well, I had the thought in my head and became immediately emotional, and I'm like, I'm not going through this on my own. I'll drag you all down with me. I'd love to know what McGonagall would see, though.
Ooh, her
really
old husband.
Cat scratch.
I don't know. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I feel like McGonagall doesn't seem to me the kind of person that would dwell on a man that she was with once. I feel like she'd be a lot more.
You downplayed that incredibly. They were married. How long were they married for? Like she wouldn't think about a guy that she's seen once.
She was hooked up with, like,
I'm actually
in comparison to the Neville thing, like.
Yes.
Isn't that a not?
Already would have gone to Hagrid. Hagrid like drinks wine, kisses her. She like at the
Christmas. It is kind of true though. Like we haven't heard anything. McGonagall might be more private than Dumbledore, to be honest, because we don't know anything about McGonagall really, like her personal life. So there's a pretty good point to it.
I think where we are now, I think Harry and Ron are the only people that are the most obvious of what they would see. I think it's very difficult, and I think it would surprise everyone if, like, there was ever a list of what everyone would see in the mirror.
Yeah.
I think they were the most
obvious.
obvious.
That list.
Yeah. I know.
And you know what? I bet the author fully knows what every character would see in that mirror.
Yeah.
Because like when you're writing characters, you need to know everything about them, like their fears, their desires. So I bet she actually genuinely does have a list of what every character would see, and I want that list.
The same as like what everyone's boggart is or whatever.
Yes. I would love the behind the scenes of all that kind of stuff, all the lists that she came up with, all the character studies. Oh my gosh, it'd be so fun.
So Harry sees his whole family. So I assumed it's like Lily's, his grandparents on that side as well, like all the family. So I wonder if someone resembled Petunia.
Or Petunia's there.
No, I don't think she's there. But like,
he looks at the mirror. He's like, "Oh, why is Dudley, Petunia, and Vernon here? Come on."
So I wonder if someone like resembled and what I really noticed about this is like Harry's obsessive personality, like gets obsessed, like because he really gets up. It's understandable why he gets obsessed with the mirror, but like he gets obsessed with the Hallows and like all this stuff. And it's sort of like we get this very early on, so it is part of his personality. But what I liked about this is that Harry gets the advice not to dwell on this, where Voldemort got obsessed with living forever, and he got advice not to do that by Slughorn, but he didn't listen. And that, I think, is like a big difference, because Harry is open to learn, where Voldemort is like, I know best. I'm not going to listen to someone that's older and wiser than me, because no one is. Which is like really, and same with Dumbledore. Dumbledore was also obsessed with the Hallows, but he actually, it took like a big tragedy for him to learn from that and not to do that. But yeah, so I like the three main men, whatever, in the book, like how they deal with this obsessive personality trait of theirs. So yeah.
I think it's very important that Harry has a friend that he knows is more intelligent than him, because it forces him to listen to other people. I think if he was friends with two people that were either of equal intelligence or less intelligence than him, I say intelligence is a broad sense. Obviously, there's varying like degrees of intelligence, but I think it would be a lot harder for Harry to listen to other people, because he does have quite black and white thinking. Like once he gets something in his mind, he goes, this is the way to do it, and he doesn't properly think about things. So I think having Hermione, who's quite clearly more intelligent and more rational in her thinking, is really good for Harry.
And I mean, it's like sometimes he is right, like with the whole Draco thing, where he's like obsessed with that, like Draco's up to something, and he was actually correct. But he doesn't like let it take over his whole life. He comes to a point where he's like, okay, I have to like, stop obsessing about this, and then like move on from that, which I think is something Voldemort could never do. So
it makes me think a little bit of, if there isn't a piece of Voldemort inside Harry, what his life would have looked like and how it would have been different if his personality would have changed. Because maybe his obsessiveness is like a smidgen of just Voldemort's obsessiveness that kind of grew in Harry a little bit because of the Horcrux. Like, so I'm curious if Harry didn't have the Horcrux at all. I mean, maybe like, okay, so if we're like looking over like genetics, James maybe might have been the more obsessed one of the two, of Lily and James, but I don't know. I don't want to just attribute all of Harry's bad qualities to the Horcrux, but it just makes me curious for what Harry would have really been like as a person had he not also been a Horcrux.
I feel like maybe his obsessiveness stems from the fact that, he went into Hogwarts wanting to know about his family. He's gone into this situation. He's realized he knows nothing about his life in the grand scheme of things. He doesn't know about his parents, doesn't know about the fact that he's a wizard, doesn't know all of this. So that's built this sort of obsession to want to learn more. And I think maybe that translated into sort of hyper-focusing on things when he learns about something, then obsessing over it and wanting to know more about it, and keeps going back to that. Because, something that massive that happens in your childhood will affect your personality and affect everything for the rest of your life. So it would make sense that it would translate things like that.
Yeah, because his obsession sometimes consumes him. Like it's like takes over everything. It's basically all he can think about. So that's a very interesting character trait.
Yeah, for real.
Of him.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
All right. What else did you guys see in this chapter? Anything else? Any other fun?
Well, you haven't seen it yet. Y'all need to see it. Eventually, we need to do it. But the puffs.
Yeah. It's coming.
Mirrors in it.
The mirrors and the puffs.
It's in it, and it's hilarious. It's funny. It's fun. I can't wait for y'all to see it. So.
We have the Sorting Hat, the Scarf of Sexual Preference, and then now we have the mirror of whatever it is, the mirror of Erised.
So I haven't seen that the puffs thing. So is it basically? So why did they do that? Did they say because the puffs are not represented enough in the books?
Yeah, it was just one of those that there was just a live play. It's a play of just off Broadway. And it's just it was just, hey, we don't know nothing about the puffs, and they just went with the most uncommon house that was there. Nobody knew anything about it, and just went with it, and it's pretty funny. So
it's very funny because a friend of mine is reading the series now for the first time, and she was like, she feels so sorry for the Ravenclaws because they never mentioned, they're never in the book. And she's like, it's just Hufflepuff, Gryffindor, and Slytherin. It's like, no Ravenclaws. So I'm like, yeah. So apparently not, according to all the Puffs.
I will say it's funny because it's like you don't hear much about the Puffs through as much as there, right? Like in the books and stuff like that, you hear a little bit. You get some of the Ravenclaw kind of thing. Everyone pops up randomly, but it's like then in like the game, the Hogwarts Legacy game, the Puffs gets like a really good like character and all this stuff, and then Ravenclaw is the one that's got the worst like side quest person. It's kind of like, wow, this is really late. You feel bad for so.
Claws in Hogwarts Legacy are all super weird.
Yeah.
Like all like super. I mean, it's accurate. Let's be honest. But like they're all like, "Oh, look at these things I've collected," and I'm like, "Oh, I feel so called out." They're all clearly written with a specific thing in mind, and it's just.
I think it's just if you're not a Gryffindor, you're not a Slytherin, then we're all just unrepresented anyway. So
yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
Well, okay, wait. I have something that I wanted to ask. And who's the Draco Malfoy fan here? Don't we have one?
What?
I'm kind of a Draco fan.
Is it Bria? I don't remember.
Cody's ready to bring out one of
I
them
know.
monkey fists. She's like, "Hey,
It is not me.
What? Lana?
It is
I
not
know.
me.
Yeah. She's a.
I think Vegas as well. I don't dislike him, but he's not my favorite.
Well, anyway, because this is a chapter of mirrors, the first, and this is like, I revisited the text quite a bit this past week.
Ooh.
And I'm wondering about like, I came to this idea that like, what Draco would see in the mirror is everything that Harry has, and what Harry sees in the mirror is everything that Draco has. So they each want like what the other, they each have what the other desires.
So do you mean like fame and
yeah,
right?
Recognition kind of thing?
Isn't that what's driving Draco Malfoy? Like he has everything. He should be the popular kid in school, but it's not. It's Harry. Anyway, that came to me as he's making fun of Harry having no family in potions class.
yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely works that Harry wants what Draco has. Not Draco's family, obviously, because Draco's family is
right.
But
Harry has friends that actually like him, which I don't think Draco has.
But maybe Draco wants that too. Maybe he realizes like, Crabbe and Goyle aren't like, they're just kind of little followers. He's like a little bully in there. So maybe he wants
Harry's got friends that would actually be there for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like speaking of Harry having friends that like having a friend that's smarter than him and challenges him, right?
I actually kind of love that. Especially for Draco, because I think he's a very complicated character. A lot of people hate him, but I think he's a good little side villain because he just seems confused half the time, especially when you get to the later part of the books. But yeah.
Some child has joined our stream.
Yeah. Okay. Muted. Now we're good.
Okay.
But yeah, with Draco's motivation, his motivation is always interesting to me. I just don't. I can't catch it perfectly. I think it is for popularity. I also think it's for approval. I think he does a lot of things in his life for approval, and he just doesn't really get it from his family. And yeah, maybe he's just jealous of Harry because he had loving parents or something like that. I don't know. It's fascinating.
Is he jealous of Harry or is he in love with Harry? Here are the Drarry theories.
Yeah.
I think he's secretly in love with Hermione.
I mean, in real life or in the books?
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's one of these things where it's like, does he want to be them or does he want them? You know, it's like that fine line. Sorry, Celia, what were you saying?
I can't remember. I like no, I think it's another part where like Tom Felton, that's how I pronounce it. His like his own personality also like sort of muddies Draco for me. Like he's like I like him as an actor and as a person. I think he's very charming and funny. So that also like that is sort of Draco for me now. So I it's difficult to separate the Draco in the books from that Draco.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Alan Rickman and Snape. Like Snape is a horrible person, has
that's
very few redeeming qualities. But in the films, he's just charming because he's Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Like, how could you not like him? He's just got that natural, like, you know, even if he's being horrible, you're like, I'd do anything. Be mean to me. And I feel like Draco, obviously not in the first few books, because he was, I mean, even as a child, I was like, but, you know, he still has that sort of like, I'm evil, but I'm charming, and I'm going to be sassy about it in a funny way. So, a bit different in the movies.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think it's just fascinating. Like, it's harder to figure out sometimes what all of them want to even see in the mirror. Like, I love when Danny was talking about that initially, because I was like, I asked them what you guys would want to see in the mirror, or what you would see in the mirror, and Danny's like said something along the lines of, I hope I would have the like the wherewithal to really know what I would see. I think that's a really fascinating point, because half the time, like, I don't really know what I desire. So it'd be fascinating to look into the mirror. And even with all these other characters, it's hard to like pinpoint what exactly they desire, because they're complicated characters. They desire different things at different times. And it's the same thing with me. I'm like, I'm really curious what I would look into the mirror and see at different points in my life. And I think, yeah, Gwen, I think you're right. At this point, I feel like Draco wants what Harry has, and Harry wants what Draco has. I think that's a great little catch for that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I must say, like, the characters are so well written that it's very difficult. I think if they were real, like people in real life, we would still would be surprised about how they react to certain things. That's why I struggle with fan fiction a bit, because like they are such complicated characters that I think no one except the author really knows how they would look, what they would do, and how they would react in certain situations. And I think that's what makes the Mirror of Erised so difficult, is that like I think Harry and that's like what I said, like Harry and Ron is the most obvious of what they would see. And I don't think one of us would really know what the others, like the other characters, would see in the mirror. And that's just like shows how good these characters are by the end of book 7. That they're very complicated and well-rounded characters.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. Anything else in this before we wrap it up and do our favorite quotes?
Just how like beautiful this chapter is for that very reason. Like you can't, I remember even being like, however old I was, 11, 12 years old when I first read this, and like questioning like, what would I see in the mirror? Like, I think that's a really beautiful thing to look into in yourself. And there's a couple of moments in this series that make you really do that and make you really think deeply about and like really heavily about yourself. And this is one of those chapters, and I get a lot of that in Deathly Hallows too, which is why that's my favorite book. But yeah, this was the first time I think ever I remember reading something that made me like really think so deeply about myself.
Yeah.
And I think that that's very profound, to be like just in the middle of a children's book.
Yep. I think that's why I love children's literature so much. I feel like it's so difficult to do that in children's literature, and how she's able to pull that off. This is the chapter where like I read through the series again, and sometimes like, you know, the first book, people skip through the first book, but I don't specifically for this chapter, because this is the chapter where I read it and I'm like, her descriptions of what Harry wants, and like even the smallest little details of how his like nose, face is pressed up against the mirror, shows such deep desire in such a tangible, well-written way. It's a master class in writing. I think this is one of her best written chapters. And when I read this, I'm like, this is no longer a kid's story. It is 100% a children's story, but like, you're like, this has themes in it that completely transcend just like fun little kids stories, you know?
Yeah. And just how it humanizes, you know, Dumbledore as well, from him like sitting on the desk when he like first sees, because that's basically like the very first like interaction with Harry on a one-to-one. That you know, like the one-to-one level where they really interact with each other is like him sitting on a desk, and that just like normalizes it.
Yeah.
And her language in this chapter is like she writes with a lot of like hunger and thirst imagery, like he's craving like this a basic need, right, to be fulfilled with, like we all need that. Yeah, and there's just like the powerful longing in this chapter is so like hauntingly beautifully sad.
Yeah. Yep.
But like with you saying now with the longing, and also you asking the questions of what would you desire, like it would, like the chapter begins with this, she sort of creates the environment for us to be like cozy, comfortable, feeling safe, like, you know, they're sitting in front of the fire, the snow, and them like you know, the nice food and the feeling of family, and you feel like safe, and then you come to this point where it's like, okay, I'm in a safe space, comfortable space, cozy space, and now I can think of what would I see in the mirror, which is like a very deep, like philosophical human question.
I mean, it's Christmas Day
for that.
Yeah, it's Christmas Day when he does this, which is like the day of rebirth.
Yeah, that's a good point as well.
Yeah, I think I would probably say that this is, in different ways, I think there are different chapters in these books that are really well written for specific reasons. Like I think the cave is one of the best chapters just for the anticipation. It's like one of my favorites because I cannot, like, I'm so tense that whole chapter. And I love, you know, the final, not the final 3 chapters, but like the, you know, in the forest again, I think is one of the just like the best wrap up chapters that's in literature. But I think as far as like desire and longing and just really getting a grasp on this character, I feel like this is her best written chapter. I think it's so excellent. I think it's so perfect. And I love this chapter so much.
Oh, it's like a hug. And then
I know.
You can get emotional in this hug.
Yeah. It's like a sad hug. It's great. Yeah. All right. What are your favorite lines in this chapter? We'll end with this.
Snowballs bouncing off of Coral's turban.
Yeah. It is so good.
It really is. We're not stupid. We know we're called Grad and Forge.
Yeah. That's a great one.
I like the one where Harry goes, Professor Dumbledore, can I ask you something? And he goes, obviously, you've just done so. Because that's just
such an old man
thing.
You know,
teachers have these sassy remarks that they always say, and it just reminds you that he is a teacher at the end of the day, and that's the dynamic.
Yeah.
It's like when you say, oh, miss, can I go to the toilet? And they go, oh, I don't know, can you? And you have to go, yeah, go to the toilet. And it's like, it's just one of these things that kind of, it's a good thing to remind you, like, he is a teacher at the end of the day, and then he follows it with what do you see in the mirror. So
Friend's shaking her head. She's like, I do that.
What? Oh, I didn't hear you.
I think my favorite is where it talks about when he sees his parents, and then it said he had a powerful kind of ache inside him, half joy, half terrible sadness. How long he stood there, he didn't know. I love that because I'm like, time just flies when he's there, and he doesn't know if it's sadness or happiness. It's just, it's so good.
Mine is where Harry says her eyes are just like mine.
That's so good. I love that. This is for the first time that he sees
in
him.
a few books' time, he's going to be so sick of hearing that. In that moment, he's like, this is so lovely.
Yeah.
Eventually, he's like, I know. She's my mother. It's called genetics.
Yeah, because later on it says like green eyes were like all around green eyes were looking at him. It was so nice.
Oh, love it. Any other favorite lines before we end it?
When Harry says, I've got presents, and Ron replies, what did you expect? Turnips?
That was my option one.
It's such a good moment too that Harry actually didn't even expect to get presents.
Yeah.
And then Ron's reaction to be like, well, of course it's Christmas. Why wouldn't there be presents? To Harry, it's so
Yeah.
Same with when Hermione goes, when Ron asks Hermione to ask her parents, and she goes, yes, it'll be very safe because they're both dentists.
Yeah.
That's cute.
All right, guys. Well, it was a pleasure as always. We'll keep going through the next 2 chapters. We'll do the next pod, but I'll let you guys know when we'll do that. We'll have some discussion on that. But thanks for joining, and I'll see you guys next time.
I've got a question. Where do you think Hermione met? I just thought about it.
Dental school, obviously. Come on.
No, probably. Maybe.
Yeah, they fell in love.
Maybe they were
fell in love cleaning teeth.
Like they made at practices across from each other, and then like they were fighting for the same client list, and then they fell in love.
I like it.
They were both working on a tricky cavity, and their eyes met above. There's some child left like.
It's gonna be one of the episodes in the show.
Yeah. A little side story on how the Grangers met. That'd be great. I'd love that.
Go write that fan fiction.
I know,
because you like that so much.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like I'll write it, and then no one will understand it.
It'll just be a little darker than everyone wants. So.
I'll write it in Afrikaans and I'll send it to all of you.
Yes. Oh, great. Works. Well, I'll learn Afrikaans that way.
Get that right.
All right, guys. Have a good day. Great talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.